If you enjoy this video, please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you like what you see on my channel and would like to support me on Patreon, click on the link below. After the disappointing Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, there was almost very little doubt that they would follow up with a sequel. Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, made in 1991, would be the last fully fledged movie featuring the original crew. And let's face it, the cast was getting old. The release would coincide with the 25th anniversary of Star Trek. Star Trek VI would be DeForest Kelley's last on-screen performance as Dr. McCoy. The character of Sulu was not the helmsman for the Enterprise anymore, but would be promoted to captain of the USS Excelsior.
You know, for 24 years he's been sitting at that same old console. He's supposed to be a very, very bright guy. Eminently capable, graduated from Starfleet Academy #1. We have the recognition of the reality of his great capabilities and making it, in fact, so as he becomes the captain of his own starship.
The title of the film, The Undiscovered Country, was originally going to be the original title of Star Trek II in 1982, but was rejected for the title, The Wrath of Khan. The Undiscovered Country would be a fitting title for the sixth and final film for the original crew. Initially, Star Trek VI was going to be a prequel of the original series using younger actors playing the classic characters, while they attend Starfleet Academy. The film would have been called Star Trek: The Academy Years. Ethan Hawke was even considered to play a young Kirk. John Cusack was rumoured for the role of a young Spock. J.J. Abrams would partly revisit this idea for his Star Trek reboot in 2009, which would feature younger actors playing younger versions of the original crew. Due to a strong desire for a future film to feature the cast of the Next Generation series, it was decided that they use the original cast for one last time for number 6, then to follow up with an official Star Trek Next Generation film to take over the film franchise. Star Trek actor Walter Koenig would write an outline for a script and would have a more abrupt way to end the series with the original crew. His idea was to have the original crew retire and Spock become the new captain of the Enterprise with an all-new crew. The story would have the original crew coming to the rescue of the new crew who have been captured by a worm-like alien race. In the end, all of the original crew die, including Spock. Thank goodness this idea was rejected by Paramount. Nicholas Meyer, the original director of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, was hired to direct. Meyer would be the perfect choice, especially a politically charged film like Star Trek VI. Meyer was faced to complete the film in time for the 25th anniversary celebration of Star Trek. Meyer and screenplay writer Denny Martin Flynn wrote a script that was based on a suggestion from Leonard Nimoy about what would happen if the wall came down in space. During post-production, Nimoy and Meyer would clash. Nimoy preferred his own edit of the film, but Meyer refused to add Nimoy's changes into the final film. Originally, the Writers Guild removed Nimoy's story credit, but Nimoy threatened to sue the Writers Guild and Paramount if his credit was not restored. Thankfully, this issue was resolved, and he received story credit. In the early stages of the script, there was a scene where Kirk learns that Carol Marcus has died. This scene would be cut from the script, but left in the novelization of the film. The result of Kirk's fresh grief of his son David being killed by Klingons started Kirk's hatred of the Klingons, was kept in the script, and would be the main basis of the story in the film. The story for The Undiscovered Country starts with the destruction of the Klingon moon, Praxis. This leads to the Klingon Empire to pursue peace with the Federation. Spock is the main advocate of the peace proceedings, knowing full well of Kirk's hatred for the Klingons. Spock asks Kirk to head the peace negotiations, which terrifies Kirk. The movie starts to turn into a Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie whodunit mystery when Kirk and the crew are accused of the assassination of the Klingon Chancellor. Kirk and Bones are put on trial by the Klingon Council. They are sent to the planet of Rue Pemphe. Spock and the crew of the Enterprise race against time to rescue Kirk and Bones from the planet, while uncovering a conspiracy of epic proportions. A subplot of the film was to show that even in the 23rd century, humans haven't totally shed their bigotries and prejudices. Even our main hero, Captain Kirk, is guilty of prejudice and hate.
The source of that prejudice is the fear of change and what that change will bring to the individual.
William Shatner even felt that though dramatic, the script made Kirk too prejudiced. Principal photography took place between April and September of 1991. Myers wanted a darker and more dramatic tone to the film. With a limited budget, it meant that many sets from the Next Generation and the past movies had to be redressed and reused for the movie. There was also a lack of space at Paramount's sound stages, so some scenes of the film had to be shot at other sound stages and locations outside of Paramount Studios. One shot was even filmed at an Alaskan glacier with a second unit. Other exterior shots were shot at Bronson Park in Los Angeles. The scenes on the planet of Rue Pemphe were shot during the warm weather. Actors DeForest Kelley and William Shatner were actually sweating, not freezing during these scenes. Kelley and Shatner's prison scenes were shot over a course of 6 to 8 nights. The two actors got to know each other better than they ever had before. The underground prison scenes for Rue Pemphe were shot at the Bronson Caves at Griffith Park, where scenes for the sci-fi film Invasion of the Body Snatchers and the Batcave for the Batman series was shot. This was the first Star Trek film where they would use actual computer displays for the bridge sets. Industrial Light and Magic were used for the majority of the effects of the film, under the supervision of Scott Farrer, who was the visual effects cameraman on the first 3 Star Trek films. The spectacular special effects shots for the opening scenes with the destruction of the planet Praxis was used in several other movies during the 1990s, such as Stargate, the special edition versions of Star Wars. The effect was known as the Praxis effect. All the original cast would return. DeForest Kelley, who was 75 at the time, was paid $1 million for the role, which made for a comfortable retirement for the actor. Leonard Nimoy actually pushed the studio to give Kelley more money. Yeoman Rand was once again played by Grace Lee Whitney. Kim Cattrall played Vulcan Valeris, the Enterprise's new helmsman. This character becomes the newest protege of Spock. The character was supposed to be Spock's replacement. Cattrall was initially approached to play Saavik in the 3rd film, but she turned it down. Cattrall initially turned down the role for Star Trek VI, thinking she was going to play Saavik because she didn't want to be the 3rd actress to play Saavik. But after finding out it was an all-new character, she took the role. Christopher Plummer was cast as the main villain, Klingon General Chang. He does tend to go over the top a little in his performance at times, but seems to enjoy every moment playing the villain, who quotes Shakespeare throughout the film. Meyer wrote this role especially for Plummer. Plummer suggested he wear less severe Klingon makeup, having a bald head with hardly any Klingon ridges and an eye patch. Incidentally, William Shatner was Christopher Plummer's understudy in his early years in Canadian theatre and also worked with Plummer in radio plays. Respected actor David Warner played Klingon Chancellor Gorkon, a role originally offered to actor Jack Palance. Warner also appeared in Star Trek V as a totally different character, St. John Talbot. He also appeared in the classic Next Generation double episode Chain of Command, Part 1 and 2, as Cardassian Gul Madrid, the sadistic Cardassian leader who tortures Captain Picard. Model Iman played the role of Marta, the shape-shifting alien who helps Kirk and Bones escape the prison, only to double-cross them after. Michael Dorn, who played Lieutenant Worf on The Next Generation, would play Colonel Worf, the grandfather of Lieutenant Worf. Mark Leonard has a small appearance as Ambassador Sarek. Composer Cliff Idleman composes an exciting score. Composer James Horner was originally approached, but after doing the scores for Star Trek II and III, Horner said his career had outgrown Star Trek and turned down the offer. Jerry Goldsmith was approached, but flatly refused after the failure of Star Trek V, the movie which he scored. Unknown composer Cliff Idleman was approached after his demo tapes were heard which impressed the producers. He brings his own style while still remaining loyal to the Star Trek sound of Goldsmith, Horner and Alexander Courage. Idleman produces very fitting signing off music at the end. Nicholas Meyer showed Gene Roddenberry a rough edit of the film. Roddenberry at this time was bound to a wheelchair and had to use an oxygen tank to breathe. Gene Roddenberry, still giving his strong opinion to the very end, said the film needed to be recut and was not satisfied with the story and thought the Klingon villains were too generic and the Klingon society and values were never really explored. Director Meyer had many heated arguments with Roddenberry about the film. Sadly, he died within 48 hours after seeing the film. Nicholas Meyer has since had deep regret of his behaviour at the meetings with Roddenberry. Meyer actually didn't know how sick Roddenberry was at the time.
Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry died yesterday of cardiac arrest. He was 70 years old. Roddenberry used his vivid imagination to create a galaxy of characters who live on in the television shows and movies he's brought us.
Gene Roddenberry shepherded years of entertainment that was called Star Trek, and he's become a legend.
I had a sense of a hole that had opened up inside my life that cannot be fully replaced.
He's given us so much, and he's left so much with us, and yet you can't help but feel the void.
The film is dedicated in Gene Roddenberry's memory. Prior to the release, there were rumours Kirk would be killed off in the film. These rumours were started after people saw the trailer where Kirk gets vaporized. The scene in that trailer was in fact the shapeshifter in the form of Kirk being vaporized. The film was originally going to be released December the 13th, but was released a week earlier due to the release of box office hits like Hook and The Last Boy Scout that same day. The film was a great success with audiences and critics, with many favourable reviews. Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country was a great step up from Star Trek V, but while I didn't enjoy the political side of the film that much, it did blend humour, mystery, action and adventure rather well into the story, and the film is one of the best of the Star Trek film franchise, due mainly to great direction by Nicholas Meyer, proving he was the best director of the Star Trek movies. It's also a great send-off for the original crew. My name's JonnyBaak. Thanks for watching.